You are never strong enough that you don't need help. Only when we have become nonviolent towards all life will we have learned to live well with others. Nonviolence is not inaction. It is not discussion. It is not for the timid or weak. Nonviolence is hard work. Preservation of one's own culture does not require contempt or disrespect for other cultures. The fight is never about grapes or lettuce. It is always about people. If you really want to make a friend, go to someone's house and eat with him. The people who give you their food give you their heart. Our ambitions must be broad enough to include the aspirations and needs of others, for their sakes and for our own. Our lives are all that really belong to us, so it is how we use our lives that determines what kind of men we are. When the man who feeds the world by toiling in the fields is himself deprived of the basic rights of feeding, sheltering, and caring for his own family, the whole community of men is sick. When we are really honest with ourselves, we must admit our lives are all that really belong to us. So it is how we use our lives that determines the kind of men we are. There is no such thing as defeat in nonviolence. You cannot uneducate the person who has learned to read. We need to help students and parents cherish and preserve the ethnic and cultural diversity that nourishes and strengthens this community and this nation. Our language is the reflection of ourselves. A language is an exact reflection of the character and growth of its speakers. We draw our strength from the very despair in which we have been forced to live. We shall endure. If you really want to make a friend, go to someone's house and eat with him. The people who give you their food give you their heart. The end of all knowledge should be service to others. To be a man is to suffer for others. God help us to be men. I'm convinced that the truest act of courage, the strongest act of manliness, is to sacrifice ourselves for others in a totally non-violent struggle for justice. We don't need perfect political systems, we need perfect participation. In some cases, non-violence requires more militancy than violence. 17. Being of service is not enough. You must become a servant of the people. When you do, you can demand their commitment in return. There is no turning back, we will win. We are winning because ours is a revolution of the mind and heart. Years of misguided teaching have resulted in the destruction of the best in our society, our cultures, and in the environment. From the depth of need and despair, people can work together, can organize themselves to solve their own problems and fill their own needs with dignity and strength. When we are really honest with ourselves, we must admit our lives are all that really belong to us. So it is how we use our lives that determines the kind of men we are. There are many reasons for why a man does what he does. To be himself, he must be able to give it all. If a leader cannot give it all, he cannot expect his people to give anything. When you sacrifice, you force others to sacrifice. It's an extremely powerful weapon. To make a dream come true, the first requirement is a great capacity to dream, the second is persistence. Children of farm workers should be as proud of their professions as other children are of theirs. We farm workers are the closest to food production. We were the first to recognize the serious health hazards of agriculture pesticides to both consumers and ourselves. Farm workers are society's canaries. Farm workers and their children demonstrate the effects of pesticide poisoning before anyone else. There is no substitute for hard work, 23 or 24 hours a day. And there is no substitute for patience and acceptance.